Hello, and welcome to my Book 3 retrospective. It has taken me about 7 months to get this turned out, but I'm doing it because I'm about to start work on Book 4, so it was time to do some reflecting. This is going to be a quick little thing. I've got a couple of questions, some of the same ones that I've asked before, and then I'll talk a little bit about the retrospective that I had with Reagan. So I apologize in advance for the fact that I used the word symbology incorrectly, that I clearly haven't showered, and that I keep touching my face. And the yeah. I swear I'm going to try and work on that. Okay, enjoy! My favorite story was definitely The Mysterious Wad Gorgor, which was this incredible story that I found from an anthropologist who was doing research on Vanuatu. It was just such an incredible find, and it was a really interesting story, and I was really happy and surprised with everything that came out of it. My favorite beverage books were the one for the Chariot and the one for the Three of Cups. The Chariot I legitimately am quite proud of stylistically. I think it does a good job of encapsulating everything that happens in the brain and the symbolism of kind of this driving force and the yin and the yang there. It also just looks like a children's book that I would have read as a child. And then the Three of Cups symbology was really important to me. Something that I really love is this idea of friendship and gathering. And so this is my happy place in therapy when I need to come down, which is being out in the Texas Hill Country after a night of heavy drinking. This is like early morning, the sun's rising, everyone is still asleep, and we've got the little Three of Hearts there, which is what it equates to in the normal deck. So I was really happy with both of those. For cocktails, the Socialist was basically just like a Gold Rush, which I had never had before, and I was pleasantly surprised with the way it tasted. The Seedlip Mary was also really good. You know, pretty much indistinguishable from a Bloody Mary, which normally is just vodka, so I shouldn't have been surprised, but it was a good non-alcoholic option. The outfits are almost always one of the last things that I'm able to get together. And I was really pleased with the way that both of these turned out. The first one, I remember Michael seeing me getting ready and being like, so are you supposed to be some kind of like supervillain or something? But I think it's quite sexy. I don't know. I enjoy the way that this ended up turning out. And then I have had this sweater for so long, but I never get to wear it. And I still don't wear it because I don't really like wearing sweaters. But I was happy to have the occasion, and the vibes with the lighting and everything for this episode was really, really cool. This is one of my favorite episodes that I did. And it really helped me push the bounds of, cutting out things that I thought were sacred. The most challenging aspect of this book, kind of twofold. One, it came right on the heels of book 2. I got it in my mind. I wanted to get it right out the bat, and I did, and I'm really proud of that. But the biggest thing that I went into from my last retrospective was this idea of like playing around with different things. And so that scaled pretty dramatically throughout the season. I started in that first episode with printing out color cardstock characters rather than just my black and white normal characters. And then in the second one was like sound effects. And then by the third one, I was like, well, what can I cut? So can I cut everything else and just tell the story? And then I was like, okay, maybe I don't actually even need to use a script. Maybe I can tell the story from memory. Then I was like, okay, what if I brought somebody else into this? What if I cut out the visual aspect entirely? What would that be like? What if I used some kind of like puppet show-esque thing? And then somewhere in the middle of this, I got the idea of having someone else do an episode, which I was really excited about. And I was so grateful that Reagan took me up on that opportunity. And I thought he did an incredible job. And we'll hear a little bit more from him in a minute. 29, I was actually going to live stream on Twitch because I had originally looked into both of those options. But at the last minute, the ability of it in my dress rehearsal to maintain the quality was just not matching. So that's why I keep going with YouTube Live. Reach out, Twitch, reach out, YouTube Live, if you want any direct feedback for this very niche use of your platform. And then I was really sad for episode 30 with the Three of Cups. I was planning on going and doing the episode from Diamond Dogs, which is my favorite local bar here. But I ended up taking a COVID test right before, and I found out I had COVID, which is in part why it's taken me so long to get this retrospective out. But yeah, there were a lot of things that were challenging, but I'm really proud of myself for sticking to that, for changing things up as much as possible. And I'm really happy with how this season turned out, and it's gotten me really excited and reinvigorated for the ways I can play with it in the future. I've learned a lot about myself through this project in general. This last season, I think that I learned that I should just be following intuition. I really shouldn't overthink things when it comes to art. I should just lean into whatever is feeling nice and natural. I think that deadlines are incredibly important. I think that breaking the boundaries of the framework that I've built has been really helpful. I've also spent a lot of time thinking about the international nature of all of these fairy tales. You know, when I started book one, everything was so European, and I realized that I didn't want to be just stuck within that realm. And so I'm really happy that I've been reading more international folktales and feeling this sense of connection of storytelling all around the world. I also feel complicated, and I wonder about my role as a white person telling these stories. And I hope that I'm able to stay in a realm of appreciation, not appropriation, though I'm positive I will fuck that up at some point. Come on up. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. I learned that doing 2 seasons back to back was a lot. I've learned, I think also the big takeaway for me is that I should continue to work on the game of this and continue to lean into that. I love games. I love experiential forms of play. And one of the things that was so interesting about the first season was that I drew a card and I had to get everything done within a week. And that was fine for the pandemic verse that we were living in. It's not as realistic now. I think that the more I have things set up, do all the admin work ahead of time, the more actual fun it is for me in the midst of everything. So I think I can lean into that more. And I hope that I'm able to do more of that in book 4. I really loved the set of cards that I ended up drawing for this season. You know, I love that we started and ended on the 3. I feel like those bookmarks are really kind of beautiful, starting kind of like looking reflectively. And then by the end of this season, having this feeling of togetherness and joy and celebration. I thought that was really beautiful. All of these knights representing a lot of energy. Also a bit of burnout with them being reversed and me doing 2 seasons back to back. I thought that was really fascinating. I always really love the stories that I end up finding for the major arcana. I love that the 8 of Wands is the one that was representing movement, and the story moved to someone else, and it was also in the 8th place within this season. Thought that was really fascinating. Yeah, really, really great symbology for this season. As far as things that I changed, I just cut out a whole bunch of stuff, and I played around with form, and I focused on having fun on my own and figuring out what would be fun and interesting for me and feeling what I could learn. So I think that there was an element of letting go of perfectionism, and through that I think I've found a lot more beauty in everything that I've done, and it brought me a lot more inspiration for such a long project. So I think that was a really good thing. Given how long it took me to get to this retrospective and what I'm thinking about for season 4, I know I'm going to need to figure out what to do and how to motivate myself in things like editing. The whole nature of this program, the show, was that it would be time bound because I had a deadline of which I needed to hit. I was able to do that. So I need to continue to play with that even if I have a little bit more flexibility. I guess the only thing that I didn't like is that I didn't have as much time to prepare for the season, so I was kind of like running right into it. That was definitely more of a challenge, and I would change that if I could. Well, these cards are very exciting. So, first thing is just so many pentacles. This idea of work, of wealth, of finance, and I'm really curious about it and how that's going to manifest. I feel like what it's saying is that my idea is right on the money and that I'm going to be having a really good time this season. I look forward to seeing what I come up with for the Sun and the Hierophant. I think this Seven of Cups card is one of my favorites. It is just so cool and has so many interesting things in it. And then I love that we're, again, paralleling the cups at the beginning, cups at the end, kind of that heart and emotion, which makes sense. And I love that, again, we have an 8 in the 8th position, that 8 of Pentacles. So pretty excited. So right after chapter 30, when I found out I had COVID, I had scheduled a retrospective with Reagan, and I opened a Live Oak Hefeweizen, and I had a nice 2.5-hour long chat with him as COVID slowly started overtaking my body. I didn't tell Reagan that this was going to be for public consumption, and so we talked for about an hour and a half before he realized it, and it was so fun because you could kind of watch his entire demeanor change in the video. And then I spent a couple hours editing the entire thing down so that it was a nice tight 20 minutes, and it was really cute because we talk about our friendship and our relationship. And I had also recorded it wrong, and so it was just facing Reagan the entire time. And so I had found all of these cute photos from our friendship, and I was going to overlay it so it was kind of like a podcast. And then I hit my memory limit on my laptop, and even though you probably don't care about this, I'm telling you because I was so upset, and so I accidentally deleted all of it. So what did I learn from the actual retrospective? I had a great conversation with Reagan. I learned it was just so nice to talk to somebody about how they processed this thing that I worked through and that I worked through so consistently. It was really gratifying to hear the things that were challenging for him, that were inspiring for him, and how he used this as a vehicle for his own creativity. It was nice to hear the things that he was thinking about as he was preparing for the actual story that mimicked mine. And it was a real big inspiration for a lot of the things that I'm about to get started with on book 4. So without spoiling too much, I'll leave it at that. And say that I love you, Reagan, and I really appreciate your partnership on this really vulnerable task of mine. So just wish you all would be able to see this cute little thing that you won't get to. Okay, bye-bye. All right, that's it. You've watched my entire book 3 retrospective. And if you did, then you probably care about this project. And so if you're stuck on the scavenger hunt, an extra special little teaser for you. Ars Notoria may be a little helpful as you're trying to figure your way forward. Bye.
Cocktails, tarot tales, stories for the people, did a lot of work to bring stories for the people sad, cold and lonely. I got stories for the people sad, cold and lonely. I got stories for the people, seedlip whiskey to see me tell you stories for the people. Grab a drink or two while you hear the stories for the people. When you're feeling blue, come and hear the stories about the people. I got stories for the people, stories for the cocktails, tarot tales, stories for the people, did a lot of work to bring stories for the people sad, cold and lonely. I got stories for the people sad, cold and lonely. I got stories for the people, seedlip Seedlip whiskey to see me tell you stories for the people. Grab a drink or two while you hear the stories for the people. When you're feeling blue, come and hear the stories about the people. I got stories for the people, stories for the cocktails, tarot tales, stories for the people. Did a lot of work to bring stories for the people. People sad, cold and lonely. I got stories for the people sad, cold and lonely. I got stories for the people. Seedlip whiskey to see me tell you stories for the people. Grab a drink or two while you hear the stories for the people. When you're feeling blue, come and hear the stories about the people. I got stories for the people, stories for the
meow 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 meow